Blue-White-Red Delver kind of came to prominence. That's a deck that is jammed with anti-combo cards in its board, so that didn't work out well for Reanimator either. But the deck is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, when it is allowed to go unchecked, it is maybe the most degenerate thing you can be doing in this format.
Tough to say. I'm a big Belcher fan.
Yeah.
Unchecked, no Force of Wills. That's where I would want to be.
All right, that's fair. We gotta be more precise about our definition of unchecked.
I'm a little biased too, to be fair.
Maybe. Yeah. Reanimator is a deck that I have played. I played it at Grand Prix DC.
Me too.
Yeah, actually, I think I was the one that convinced you to play it.
You were, actually.
All right, neither of us had any success for what it's worth. So
That's hard to say. I lost playing for money in the last round.
Yeah,
So no success. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
exactly.
Okay, got it. It felt like success.
Yeah,
I guess
it
wasn't.
Yeah.
Austin Palmer here. He's playing Blue-Red Delver. Kind of interesting. Reanimator's a deck that we played at DC, and Blue-Red Delver is the deck that won DC.
Yeah.
So in theory, it should win this match then, right? Is that how that works?
I think maybe that's how that works.
I think it's actually a pretty tough match for Reanimator.
Yeah, it is.
You've got a Marsh Flats here. Shah is actually going to go get a copy of Underground Sea. You saw Palmer's going to sacrifice his Scalding Tarn. Neither player wanting to get stifled here. So I think Palmer's going to see what he's up against in just a moment.
Yeah, Marsh Flats into Underground Sea is not, that doesn't necessarily give away the farm here.
Yeah, not just yet, but I mean, if we see a Careful Study or something of that nature and Entomb, Thoughtseize won't give it away either because this could still be some sort of bug Delver deck. But I think the die will be cast here in just a little bit. Here is a Thoughtseize.
Okay, yeah, he's definitely going to know what Austin's up to now.
Yeah.
Assuming it resolves, which actually Austin is maybe considering some things here.
Yeah, there's a decent chance we can encounter Spell Pierce Days, things of that nature.
Yeah, or even just Brainstorm.
Yeah.
Does he have that?
Doesn't look like it. You could even consider, casting a... I mean, Force of Will would be a little aggressive. We might see him just float a mana and cast a Daze, which looks like what may be happening here. At least he's giving it some serious deliberation.
Yeah. Yeah, he's protecting info more than anything here, I guess. Because you losing that turn when you're trying to make a Stoneforge Mystic, that's a big commitment. Yeah, turn 3 Stoneforge Mystic, so much worse than turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic. Although in the matchup that this looks like he's playing, like if he thinks he's playing against something like Deathblade or against more traditional Esper, then that lost turn doesn't matter nearly as much, although he's about to find out.
Yeah, the jig is up. Gataxian Probe is going to reveal all in Cantrip. There's Reanimate, there's a Brainstorm, there's a Forest, a Show and Tell, a Lotus Petal, and a Swamp. So all it takes is an Entomb to turn this hand on, or you can just draw the big creature and cast a Show and Tell early and protect it with a Brainstorm. So a pretty good hand here for Shah.
Yeah, she's very live here, actually. It looks like he can, as you said, draw any of his big creatures, which he has 7 total. So 7 outs there, 1 Elish Norn, 1 Iona, 1 Tidespout Tyrant, and of course the 4 Gristlebrand.
Yep.
And then the 4 Entombs, or even something like Careful Study into one of the creatures as well.
Yeah. A lot of live draws. Pretty easy keep here. Palmer's going to draw his card from Gataxian Probe, of course taking 2 from that. So sitting here at 17 while Shah's at 19. See what land Palmer does want to play. Does have a Wasteland staring back at him. Could play that Tundra from earlier. We'll go with the Tundra, and we'll see maybe a little cantripping here.
Yeah, I would guess. He, having seen the hand that he's up against, that Swords to Plowshare is not particularly important, but it looks like he's not going to go for Ponder here.
Yeah, maybe just trying to represent Swords or Spell Pierce or something of that nature. Shah does draw a card. It was a Daze.
And Daze is kind of redundant here, actually, because he already had the Force of Will.
Can fire off a Brainstorm now, so that's where things are going to start.
So again, we're digging for either a creature or an Entomb. He finds the creature. Now, if he had drawn the creature just naturally, he had exactly 3 mana to cast Show and Tell and put it into play on turn 2.
Yeah.
He can no longer do that, but now that he has the creature, he is looking at a turn 3 Show and Tell, although neither of these creatures are game breakers completely. They're obviously very good creatures, but it's not like, put Gristlebrand into play, draw 14.
So here's the issue, right, where Palmer has a Wasteland in his hand. I wouldn't be surprised if he fires that off, and because Shah did not draw a land and doesn't have a land in his hand and put 2 cards back, he's a little far away from actually being able to do this. Now, it could have got super creative by playing a Petal, alternate casting cost, dazing it, and then paying for the Daze with the Swamp. Now, I'm talking some crazy stuff.
It is crazy. Particularly crazy in that correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think he knew about the Wasteland. I think that was a card that he drew off of Gataxian Probe.
Yeah.
So he had Thoughtseize his hand. He knew most of the cards,
Yep.
but the one he actually needed to play around there was the one he didn't know about, which was Wasteland.
Yeah, and if you're able to see that, then that'd be really impressive.
Yeah, I would have been very impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, even if he did see Wasteland in his hand, I'd still be kind of impressed.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too. Me too.
yeah.
It's an unorthodox play.
It is,
to say the least.
It's a little. It's heads up. It's definitely getting out of your comfort zone.
We're checking for Delver. We're hitting with Delver. Spell Pierce. We'll flip it into Insectile Aberration. And now let the beatdowns begin.
Getcha. We don't. Does Austin have another land to continue to apply pressure? That's the real question.
I don't think that's the case. Could consider casting a Ponder here to try to find out another land. Or could just stay, because if he doesn't find a land, it's kind of a disaster because he won't have Spell Pierce available.
Yeah, well, he's sitting on... Yeah, I mean, he can either look for a land or he can sit on Force plus Spell Pierce. Honestly, you can kind of see the end of the road even from here. You just like sit with a 3/2 flyer, attack with it every turn, and hold 2 counter spells against a deck that we know has missed a land and you've wastelanded.
Yeah, so much in fact that Sha has just discarded for his turn. Tidespire Tyrant, of course, could have played Lotus Petal, but wants to actually have the big creature in the graveyard to turn on the Reanimate and the Exhume in his hand. So we're going to try to go this route, and there's a Misty Rainforest. So we're going to have an interesting game here now.
Yeah. Key knows that there are several layers of interaction in Austin's hand. So he kind of has to look at this Exhume as a test spell, in a sense. Although he may go for the Show and Tell, actually, as the test spell, since Elish Norn is the one he wants and played the least, I believe.
Yeah, it's interesting. He can go a lot of different ways here, right? He can play the Lotus Petal, and he can say, okay, I want to play around Spell Pierce, so I will play the Lotus Petal and cast Reanimate. Or I can just, play into a Daze here, too. So there's a lot of different routes that actually Sha can go. He's just going to play the Misty Rainforest and cast Reanimate, targeting the Tidespout Tyrant. You see Palmer taking a look. We're going to do the same. Big creature, not the best card to reanimate. I think that goes to Gristlebrand,
Yeah, definitely.
but still
The one they
good.
play 4 of.
Yeah, still pretty good. Here is the Tyrant. Whenever you play a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand, so presumably he can get that into play and then start working on getting that Delver out of play. But here's a Spell Pierce.
Chooses not to play around Spell Pierce by holding that Lotus Petal, but there's a tactical reason to hold that Lotus Petal as well, because if you do get the Tidespout Tyrant into play, that's a free spell that can bounce that Delver.
Yep.
But that looks like that is not going to work out. He might actually choose to fight over this. He does still have the Force of Will. And he has 1 land open for days. So given what he knows, he can actually make this resolve. And he's considering it. Yeah,
Okay.
there it goes.
Forceful Moon Day, so this is where he wants to pick the fight. Now, we could see a little Forceful back here.
We could. And let's see, did he know about the Force of Will?
I believe so.
Okay.
So we could see a Forceful back, and then the plan is, okay, that's fine, because the card that I actually care about resolving is Exhume, because it doesn't deal me damage.
Sure.
Reanimate would actually do a lot of damage in this situation, and that's a real thing to consider right now.
Yeah. But actually, it looks like that is going to...
That will get countered.
Yes.
So no Reanimate this go around.
So next turn, he's going to take 3 from the Delver on the next turn.
To be fair, he can just play Lotus Petal and just Reanimate now.
That is...
Or excuse me, Exhume now.
Yeah, I guess he can go for that too. And that plays into to Daze, which he has successfully played around so far. But again, if you choose not to, that gives Austin an extra draw step, which can create bigger problems. That can suddenly you're running into something like True Name Nemesis, which shouldn't be a problem for Reanimator. But if you get just a Tidespout Tyrant into play and you're at 9, True Name Nemesis is enough.
It's a real problem.
Yeah.
Here's a Ponder. See if Palmer can find any more permission. Looks like a Lightning Bolt, a land, and a Stoneforge Mystic. So the big battle was won by Palmer that turn. Now he just needs to close the door, but Sha is at 12 life, so it's actually pretty high. Actually doing pretty well for himself right now.
Yeah, he's almost certainly, given what we can see, I guess Austin could shuffle and then draw something that protects him from this, but almost certainly going to get a giant monster into play. And particularly in game 1s, once you get a giant monster into play, you're pretty much golden. So
Misty is going to be good to go.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what Austin's plan here is. I said a while ago that he can just attack for 3 a turn and sit on his permission, but he's out of permission.
Yeah.
So I guess hope and a prayer is kind of where we are now.
I think so.
Yeah, it doesn't feel so drastic. Key he's at 8, so that actually turns off proper Reanimate.
Yeah. Reanimate is off. It's up to Exhume and Show and Tell to get the job done. And when he's already discarded a creature, if you're Palmer, you're thinking, okay, well, they only have a finite number of creatures, 7. So your Show and Tell is probably not that good. What are the chances that you're actually holding another creature? We know that Shah is actually holding another one, and now make it another one because Gristlebrand just showed up.
Yeah. Interestingly, I think he would actually, if he resolves that Show and Tell, he would rather put Elish Norn into play at this point.
Just to kill the Delver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He puts Gristlebrand into play, it just gets swords, and he can't use it. And he does know about the swords.
Now, Show and Tell is interesting. Actually, so I thought he knew about cards. Let's not forget the Thoughtseize got dazed. So Shah doesn't know Palmer's hand. Palmer knows what was in. Palmer knows what's in Shah's hand.
No, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I was this whole time I was thinking that he had.
I thought it was
that information.
operating. Yeah, I thought it was operating with a lot of information as well. So instead, he's just going to go with an Exhume here.
Okay, so puts Tidespout Tyrant into play. At this point, I don't think Austin has a creature in his graveyard. He might actually, but I don't think. Yeah,
There's nothing hiding down there. I think the plan here is to put Tidespout Tyrant into play, make you swords that, and then Show and Tell the card I actually care about. Because it doesn't have a spell to play to actually bounce the Insectile Aberration. So, and this actually is pretty nice too, I think, because this forces Palmer to actually have a swords right now.
Right.
Because if not, then Tidespout Tyrant kind of just reigns supreme. And if you do have a sword, it's like, that's cool. I gain 5, I go up to 13. Your attack puts me down to 10.
10's a fine space to be.
Yeah, and then I've got the Show and Tell to actually try to resolve after that. So this isn't a terrible spot to be in if you're Show. It's not great, but it's not terrible.
So what spell do we cast here? Do we need one actually, or are we just going to hope the Tidespout sticks?
At this point, I think you just need to hope that the Tidespout Tyrant sticks. I think right now this is going to take a bolt upstairs. Show's going to go down to 5.
Okay, I guess that bolt's not doing anything else.
Yeah, not at all.
Definitely not in this matchup. That's going to put him at a point where even if they're kind of thinking long range. If he swords 2 Plowshares, the Tidespout Tyrant, he goes back up to 10, and then one more Delver hit puts him, that turns off Reanimate again. Whereas if he hadn't bolted, Reanimate's still on even after that sequence. So, yeah, Bolt actually sort of doing things in a roundabout way here.
So I think we're going to see a swords here. Get that Tidespout Tyrant out of the way. If you have a counter spell, it's kind of bad news for me, even like a card like Daze, because you get to cast that and actually bounce the Delver. So like that's kind of annoying, but if you have nothing, okay, this dies, I gain 5 life, I go to 10, you attack me, I go down to 7, and then we'll see what happens on the next turn.
Right. Yeah. I think we know what's going to happen in the extent that we know Show and Tell is going to be cast, but what gets put into play here? This is a tough call.
I think I like Elish.
I
think.
Yeah. I think I do too. That you're really exposed to another Swords to Plowshares at that point, but I guess you are regardless.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to fault him if he puts Gristlebrand to play. Like, there's no... I'm not going to say, like, that's wrong. Yeah. Like, it's Gristlebrand.
Yeah.
So I get it. Like, it's hard to say no to that.
Yeah. This... again, I mentioned True Name Nemesis. That's a card that the Reanimator shouldn't care about. But if you put Reanimator into play, then you might get into some kind of weird spots where you can be raced. Like say for example, let Austin put True Name Nemesis into play off of the Show and Tell, and then he has a bolt he can block with the Insectile Aberration and then bolt it before combat to keep you from gaining life. Yep. There are weird spots like that. On the other hand, there's the equally weird but awesome spot of drawing 7.
Yeah. I mean, there's this spot that we're in right now, right, where Gristlebrand is just going to reign supreme.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you get Stoneforge Mystic, go ahead and get your piece of equipment. That is probably going to have little to no effect on this game in the GT, and now Gristlebrand can actually run rampant. Now, in this particular situation that we're in, I think this is a game where Gristlebrand has no text outside of 7/7 Flying Lifelink.
That is probably true. We may see K get into a spot where he has to draw 7 to look for an answer. He drew Force of Will that last turn.
Yep.
So he would just need to find a blue card if Austin presented something that was going to kill him otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be at least one like turn cycle off because he has to attack to get the life to even do that once.
And I think he actually just drew a blue card for the turn. I'm not positive on what it is, but I think in this situation, like if you look at how the life totals are going to change, it's like, okay, he's going to attack for 7. Palmer's going to go down to 8. He's going to go up to 14. Then Palmer gets to attack for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, presumably. So 14 might say puts him to 6. and he's going to gain 4 life back, so he's going to go up to 12. I think Gristlebrand ends up winning the race in that situation.
It
But
does.
it's going to be drawn out.
The way that you actually expose yourself by attacking here, we know that Stoneforge fetched up Umezawa's Jitte.
Yep.
So Austin, if he finds a land, he can activate the Stoneforge to put Jitte into play, equip the Germ token with the Jitte, and then attack with just it, leave the Delver back.
Okay.
And then at that point, you can, as I said, you can basically fog 7 to prevent Gristlebrand from gaining there.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually true.
I don't know if that's good enough, but that's a line that he could possibly take to mess with the race math.
Either way, I think Gristlebrand has to attack. I think that's step 1 in this entire procedure for sure. I don't think he can just hold it back on defense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You have to be proactive here. Every turn that you sit with Gristlebrand in play, you're giving Austin more chances to find something that closes this out.
Yeah. So Palmer's going to go down to 8. Shell's going to go up to 14. You see a Lightning Bolt was drawn here, so the play of fogging with the Delver is live. It doesn't look like he wants to take it here, so.
Okay. Yeah, he actually he gains 4 by equipping the Jit too, but it looks like he's not going to go for that.
It doesn't have the. I guess he actually did. He does have a land in his hand.
He drew the land. He actually had all the pieces. So this is going to hit for 8, which does not necessarily put him in bolt range.
Yeah, Shell goes down to 6. Palmer actually gains 4. He goes up to 12. There's a force on the Jit. Okay. That's pretty telling.
That is. Yeah, well, and that key basically sees like that Jit could mess up my math.
Yeah.
Could change the race in ways that I can't quite anticipate.
Yeah, this is like one of the few ways that you can actually mess up the race math.
Yeah.
Is a GT.
Yeah, and that's why I would have been I would have much preferred to activate Stoneforge to get it into play.
Sure.
Just protect yourself from that. I guess he had the force for the bolt the whole time, so that was gonna force was going to break this plan up no matter how he did it.
Reanimate was the draw here for Shah this turn, which is, not all that relevant at this point.
Nope, you could get a creature out of Austin's deck if you somehow managed to kill one. Reanimate on, I don't know, Delver of Secrets. The Reanimate deck actually has a surprising number of ways to flip a Delver. This has come up for me.
This has?
Yeah.
Is that your alternate game plan? Wow, you actually slowed down this turn.
Yeah, well, I've thought seized a Delver on turn 1 and then reanimated it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That is a sheer delight right there.
Yes, it is.
Did you win that game?
I did. I sure did.
Wow,
Yeah.
look at you.
That's that's one of those lines where like you never want to be doing that, but occasionally you'll take a mulligan, you'll see your hand, and then you'll thought seize into your opponent's hand, and you're like, well, okay, this is how I'm winning.
Yeah, new game plan.
Yeah.
Ponder's going to go shuffling up here. You see Gristlebrand hanging back on defense. If Shah would have attacked, he'd be at 9 right now, and then the following attack would be for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I guess holding back here might be correct.
Yeah, that exposes you to Lightning Bolt, which is probably a risk worth taking at this point, actually. But yeah, as I've said, you do have to be proactive here. Every turn you wait, Austin is going to be cantripping, and he is going to eventually find something that closes this out, like a bolt, like a true name, like a sword. Swords on Gristlebrand would be excellent here.
So casting that with Phyrexian Mana is really interesting, because if you just hard cast it, it's okay. But now Phyrexian Mana, because he took 2, that really messes up the math, right? Because now Gristlebrand gets to attack. Presumably Austin doesn't block. He goes down to 3. Shah goes up to 9.
Okay.
Then the counter attack, he takes 8. He goes down to 1. Palmer goes up to 7 from Batterskull. Which is not the right number.
Yes.
And then you can die.
You need it to be 1 higher than
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So the fact that he played that with Phyrexian Mana, I think it's pretty, like, for me, just doing that math and assuming nothing else happens, you have to attack with Gristlebrand this turn. I think.
Yeah, most likely. Well, I think he had to attack with Gristlebrand last turn, honestly, but maybe not had to, but I would have wanted to. And
I want to be proactive like you do in this situation.
Yeah, I think you and I play Magic the same way generally. Like, I think if you get a chance to close a game out, you should.
We're graduates from Attack U.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, it's a great school.
Yes. We are not graduates from Sensei's Top U.
No, not a school I've ever even applied to.
Oh, no.
I don't even want to go there.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be it's just going to be a pass back. And again, this is kind of the problem I have, is that you can't afford to play defensively in this situation, as you'd mentioned. And the main reason for that is because Palmer's draws are better than your draws the longer we go. Like his cantrips and the fact that he can find Bolt, he can find True Name, like he's got the better draws in this situation than you do as the Reanimator player. You've got some big draws yourself if you should, but you don't want to play a longer game in this situation, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. You occasionally, and there it goes.
Die.
Yep. And as we said, every draw step you gave Austin, you're just making it more and more likely that a Bolt comes off the top.
Yeah. And, is that his third Bolt? Yes, it is. But, I mean, this is a deck that thins its deck like crazy, Brainstorms, Ponders, all of those things, Gataxian Probing. And I think that once he actually paid the Phyrexian mana, that actually changed the game so much that, you could make an argument for holding back previously, but once he actually went from 12 to 10, the way that the numbers work out, it's a beautiful time to start attacking now. But either way, Austin Palmer with a top deck Lightning Bolt is going to win that game over Keisha. We're going to take a look at the sideboards. You've got Reanimator in front of you. We will start there.
Okay, so Reanimator is a graveyard-based combo deck, and that traditionally there is those decks have a reputation. They are very good in game one, and they are very vulnerable in post-board games.
Okay.
So these decks they don't board basically like they don't bring in cards for what the opponent is doing. They bring in cards for how the opponent is going to respond to what they're doing.
Correct. They are being reactive.
Yes. So in that vein, Kay has access to 2 more show and tells to go up to 4 total, and 2 City of Traders to make it more likely that he can efficiently cast those show and tells.
Pretty standard stuff nowadays. Show and tell sideboards.
Yeah, that's stock. That's pretty much what Reanimator does, and I fully expect him to go for that plan.
I would expect him to do the exact same.
In addition to that, he has some kind of counter hate in the form of Pithing Needle, Flusterstorm, Duress. There are arguments for all of those. I don't love them. He has 1 Massacre. I do love Massacre.
I like Massacre in this matchup. Kills everything, and it's going to be free.
Yes. And then he has 2 Ashen Rider. That's basically just tweaking his creature suite. Ashen Rider is relevant in this matchup in that it is not legendary. And it can,
for Karakas.
Yes, it actually destroys the Karakas, and it does not get bounced by it.
I like Ashen Rider in this matchup simply because I think that Tidespire Tyrant is very bad in this matchup. The only reason I actually like Tyrant in this matchup is because it's a blue card for Force of Will, and that's not a big enough selling point for me to actually want it in my deck. Both of those cards are going to die to Swords to Plowshare, so you actually want one of them to do something when they come into play. And Ashen Rider can kill a Delver, it can kill a Batterskull, it'll kill something on the way in. Chances are it won't kill something on the way out, but that's fine. Yeah. At least it does something. I think it's much better than Tidespire Tyrant given the option.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of like what he will bring in, this is not an easy deck to sideboard with.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem I found playing the deck in DC.
Yes,
it's so hard to cut cards.
There were always 9 cards I wanted and maybe 2 cards I could afford to cut.
Yeah, I just started hacking lands.
Yeah,
which that's just not even close to right.
Yeah, and he's bringing in City of Traders presumably. So yeah, like if he cuts like Island for City of Traders, I guess he's getting ahead, sort of.
I just took like just a maniacal get there approach when I played the deck in DC. I'm just like, my deck can go from 0 to 60 on turn 1, so I'll cut I don't know, some cantrips or something and just cross my fingers and hope I get there.
Yeah, we may see that you can cut Ponder, as you mentioned, cutting cantrips.
Yeah.
You can cut Exhumes because we're focusing more on show and tell and less on graveyard related strategies. So
okay, this isn't a Deathrite Shaman deck, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because like when I played against Deathrite Shaman decks at the GP, Exhume was actually a way to work your way around it. Like with Reanimate, they'll just remove whatever you target. But with Exhume, you can just put a couple creatures down there.
As long as you have 2 things that you can get.
Yeah, but this isn't a Deathrite Shaman matchup, so I'm actually okay by cutting Exhumes and leaving Reanimates.
Yeah, so again, it's very player dependent. I think every Reanimator player has a different way to board out.
I agree.
But I am pretty confident we will see him bring in 2 show and tell, 2 City of Traders, at least 1 Ashen Rider, probably both, and that Massacre.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. As far as Palmer's side here, 3 Rest in Peace. We're done. Okay. He also has another Source of Plowshares, which I would want to bring in, a Grim Lavamancer, Wear and Tear, Sword of Feast and Famine, a Flusterstorm, a Pyroblast, 2 Red Elemental Blast, and then 4 copies of Meddling Mage. Meddling Mage, I think, is the most interesting card here because it's typically very good against combo decks, as it stops the card from actually coming in, or actually from resolving. You have Gataxian Probe in your deck. However, Reanimator is pretty redundant.
It is.
It has Show and Tell, it has Reanimate, it has Exhume. We don't know what numbers those cards are going to be in after sideboard, but you can imagine a situation where you probe your opponent, you see, Reanimate and Exhume, it's like, okay, pick a card with Meddling Mage. And it's not going to work the way that you want to. Rest in Peace is always going to work the way that you want to, so that's a very easy card to bring in. You can make arguments for Red Blast and Pyroblast to be able to fight over the blue cards because those are important to Reanimator. The same thing can be said for Flusterstorm. But of these cards that Palmer has access to, the only card I really actually care about is Rest in Peace, and I would bring those 3 cards in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Rest in Peace clearly goes in. As we had just finished saying, he knows they're coming.
Yep.
He's going to bring his show and tell count up to 4
Yep.
in preparation for that. The real question, I think, for Austin is how many dead cards does he have?
If you think Trinity Nemesis is dead, that's 2.
I don't think I do.
Okay. Bolt should be dead, but I mean,
actually
based
worked,
off of what we saw the last game, it's hard to say, especially when you're playing against a deck that actually has the card Reanimate. Bolt's not going to be dead as a result.
Yeah.
You have to like Swords here. Spell Pierce is good. Probe is good because of information. You have Stone Forges. You probably want the equipment, even though I don't really love GTA in this matchup. Batter Skull isn't exciting either, but it's fine.
So what you're saying is 0 dead cards already.
Basically?
Yeah, other than maybe True Name Nemesis.
You're getting to the point where you're cutting cards that you're the least excited about. Like,
Yeah.
you could conceivably see every card in the main deck of this blue or red deck being in your deck post-sideboard against Reanimator.
Sure. So maybe the real plan is just shuffle up 75.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, go for gusto, right?
Nice. Just pull 15 out at random, see what happens.
No, don't pull them out. All the board cards are good, too.
I mean, they can all actually do something.
Right, yeah. I mean, if all your cards are good, play all your cards, man.
This is a Wasteland targeting Underground Sea. I think we might see an Entomb in response here.
Yeah, I would guess so. He chose not to play Ponder on turn 1, so Entomb definitely was plan A.
It is super risky not playing that Entomb right away. Like, you could just play land and Entomb right away, and the reason you wouldn't want to do that is play around Spell Pierce and Daze. Instead, and Palmer actually does have a Spell Pierce in his hand, but he actually just led with Wasteland to kill your land. So, there are times where it's appropriate to cast, your instant as a sorcery. I think that was one of the situations. It didn't come back to hurt you.
Yeah, he is going to resolve it. There are reasons to hold it as well. So Keishu can, like, if he plays Entomb immediately, then he puts a creature in the graveyard, and then Austin knows it's there.
Yeah.
He knows what creature he has to deal with, and he knows that he has to find. Basically, he knows what the plan is.
Yes.
Because before that happens, you don't know if you need to fight over the graveyard or if you need to fight over show and tell.
That's true. This is a big problem here for sure. He missed his, he hasn't landed. He's choosing not to play the City of Traders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, City of Traders, that's one of those weird pseudo-lands.
Yeah.
And that you can't just jam it into play all willy-nilly. You kind of have to hold it for the right moment.
He drew a Massacre for the turn. Palmer does have a copy of Rest in Peace in his hand here. So he could deploy that. He could also play a land and just play Delver Secrets and leave up some counter magic. How aggressive does he want to be? It looks like he just wants to maybe get his clock online, and that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, that's fair. If your opponent does not have a permanent in play, you kind of have to suspect that his hand was pretty good until you disrupted it in the way that you did.
Yeah.
So he may be worried that he is sitting on just like he's like a lotus petal away from going off or something like that. Austin just wants to get that clock into play so that he can immediately start putting pressure on.
So Schiff finally played his City of Traders. Mm-hmm. He said, okay, enough is enough. You have a Delver. And the reason he did that is because he drew a Show and Tell. Well, Palmer drew a Wasteland, so that's going to make it really hard to win now.
Yes, it will.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he's going to play Rest in Peace and not use the Wasteland this turn. That's a little... man. I mean, I get what he's trying to do because he wants to leave a Scalding Tarn to be able to cast Spell Pierce. I understand it. Mm-hmm. I just don't love it.
Yeah, well, as long as Rest in Peace is in play, the only card you actually care about is Show and Tell.
That's true.
And presumably you have an answer to Show and Tell in the Spell Pierce. Now, that answer can be answered in turn any number of ways. So, yeah, I agree. This line is pretty risky.
Here's a discard.
And so what we have Gristlebrand in hand. This is what would be shown and told.
Yeah, that's what's going to have to be shown and told.
Okay.
There'll probably be plenty of cards for sure to discard here. Entomb, Exhume, things of that nature, because he's not going to be able to get Rest in Peace off the board, given his hand right now and given his mana problems.
So absolutely needed to find a way to cast Show and Tell that turn.
Yep.
Yeah. Now that this Wasteland gets to go off, I don't see how Key gets out of this. You would have to hit like Lotus Petal into another City of Traders. But he actually needs an island to use that to cast that Daze.
Yeah, the Lotus Petal would have to resolve too, which is a funny thing to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if Palmer just countered it.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, given like the makeup of his hand, he's got a couple of cantrips. He'd probably want to get some of those cards out of his hand, and he's basically countering a land. stifling it. That's exactly what he would be doing.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's going to be shuffling with the Ponder here, but he's got a really good hand. He has at least one Spell Pierce. I know he's got another cantrip over there because the Brainstorm revealed from the Delver. He's going to draw a mystery card here in just a second, but he is very far ahead. And truth be told, I think this matchup is actually pretty hard for Reanimator.
Yeah, I agree. As we were saying, like, Blue or Red just doesn't have dead cards, for one.
Yeah.
And it has serious trumps in games 2 and 3. We see a Rest in Peace on board.
Yeah.
The Reanimator deck really has to kind of bend itself into knots and become something that it is not traditionally in order to play around those powerful options.
It's an incredibly powerful deck, is Reanimator, but it's not a deck that really stands up to hate cards really well.
Yes.
Or at least, more than one of them. There are times where it can actually get by one hate card, but in combination with hate cards in combination, with Permission, it's really hard to win then.
Yeah, hate cards in combination with Permission, Clock, and Wasteland.
Even harder.
Yeah, that was not going to work out for you, generally.
This is a Thoughtseize. We're going to see a response here as Palmer's going to search up a Volcanic Island off the Scalding Tarn. Looks like we're going to see a little Brainstorm action to hide some cards here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we actually haven't gotten a good look at Austin's hand so far this game, but we kind of have to assume it is full of action.
He's got two pieces of equipment, a Batterskull and an SCGDAL. He's got a Brainstorm that he's going to cast that, again, did know about from Delver's Secrets. Mm-hmm. And he's going to draw a Bolt, a Volcanic, and a Meddling Mage. So, he's still got plenty of action in his hand.
Yeah, I would guess that he puts away the Batterskull almost certainly, and maybe even the GT as well. I'm not sure that GT increases your clock in any reasonable way or particularly matters here.
I'm not convinced this game is about equipment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm not convinced that this game is about much at this point. This game feels over to me, honestly. But
it feels really hard for Shu to win. There's a combination of cards I think he can draw to get back in this game. Like, for example, he does have Massacre in his hand to actually contain the creatures a little bit, but then he has to work his way through Permission, which looks like it's going to be very, very difficult to do. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, and actually, I guess with that Massacre, he can stabilize in a sense.
Yeah, we're using the term loosely, but
yeah, yeah,
I agree.
Well, he can remove Austin's clock.
Yeah, gets to play a longer game.
Yeah, and in fact, if he doesn't know about the Meddling Mage because it looks like Austin tucked it away. But if Austin decides to keep that Meddling Mage and play it, there's no way he names Massacre, right?
No, that's like a 0%er.
Yeah, exactly. So he would name Show and Tell, and then set himself up for the 2-for-1.
If he names Massacre, we'll just end the tournament. He's the champion. That's it.
Okay.
We'll just call it early.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
That's it.
Neither you or I are the head judge, but don't tell them that.
He's the champ. Yeah. That's it. If he has the foresight to do that, let's just move on because you're not beating this guy.
Good deal. Yeah, I would be impressed. But we don't even know that he's going to keep the Meddling Mage. He could shuffle it away if he wanted, but no, there it goes.
Yeah, there it is. Here's an attack for 3. Shu's going to go down to 10.
This is actually the moment of truth time. We can potentially crown a champion right here.
That's true. We've never crowned a champion in round 7.
We have not
of an open.
Not in a long time.
Or round 8, excuse me. Let's see what he did name.
What's it gonna be?
Show and Tell.
Show and Tell.
And that's like the easiest name, right?
As I said, that's the card that I would name.
Yes.
So
that's the super easy name. Your graveyard's gone. The only way you can actually beat me is by putting a big monster in play via Show and Tell. So I'm going to name that. And, it's pretty easy breezy from this point. He does actually even have a Spell Pierce to take care of the Massacre,
so
assuming that Shu doesn't draw a land.
Land Massacre, did we do it?
He doesn't have to cast Massacre now. He's got a turn.
Yeah, but he really wants to.
I would want to. Here's a Brainstorm. Wonder if this gets pierced.
Draws out the Pierce.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
Here it comes.
I think you could.
Coast is clear.
You can Massacre now.
This is a one-of Massacre, by the way. One-of in the board. Can't be like tutored for or anything like that. Just Massacre for value. And the value. Is he going to go for it? He's going to fight over Brainstorm even.
Okay.
Well, now you don't have a Swamp in play. That's not going to work. You need a Swamp in play to Massacre people.
Well, he hasn't played land yet.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I want to see a Massacre right now.
I actually like this. Okay, so the reason I actually like this play is because, he's going to pay for the days, and then he's going to play the land and be able to pay for a days on a Massacre.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I actually like this.
Because he gains a mana by doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
that days doesn't get any better.
Right. So he is only exposed to another Spell Pierce or Force of Will plus blue card. And he gets to cast a Brainstorm, too, to further insulate himself somehow.
Yeah, so days, you got me. All right. So now he gets to play his land for the turn, which is that Volcanic. And he can fire off the Massacre if he wants, or he can start with the Ponder. So he's going to start with the Ponder.
Okay.
And if that Ponder's resolving, then that means your Massacre's resolving, because Austin has shown on this particular turn that he doesn't want you to resolve cantrips to get back into the game by countering your Brainstorm.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty strong tell the coast is clear.
Yeah.
Either that, or maybe you could say Austin is just having lost the fight over cantrips. Maybe he had like a spell pierce to blow, and now this last piece of permission, that's something he has to say for something really terrible, like for example Massacre.
Sure.
So maybe he's looking at it that way. So he can't necessarily say this will absolutely resolve, but he's going to go for it.
And that is a Massacre. Now, the interesting thing here is that Sho actually picked up a Lotus Petal for the turn. And so if he was worried about Dace, he could have actually played around it. So I would have played the Lotus Petal pre-Massacre.
Yeah, I agree.
But other than that, I think I actually really like his sequencing and everything he's done this turn. And now he gets to kick it back to Palmer, who has no clock. He's drawn another copy of Rest in Peace. And fortunately for Palmer, he has a Brainstorm to be able to find some more action. But needs to find some action now, because this game is starting to get a little more difficult. Though that Meddling Mage was a big draw.
Yes, Meddling Mage can turn off Show and Tell again.
Yeah.
As long as that Rest in Peace is in play and actually doesn't look like he has any way to get it off the board, then Show and Tell is the only way he's going to win this game.
Yep.
So Meddling Mage on Show and Tell, a pretty big game here. And he might be able to fight over it.
Will Palmer cast it?
Well, he wants to. Oh, he says stop, maybe? What's going on here? No,
Yeah, he
there
just
it
wanted,
goes.
I probably wanted how many cards. Yeah, 4 cards in Sho's hand. Yeah, and it's like Show and Tell. It's Show and Tell, Gristlebrand, a Lotus Petal, and something else. And he's going to name Show and Tell again, unsurprisingly. And that's part of the reason I think that he didn't play the Petals, because he actually had the land on top from Ponder, and he would have been able to go play a land, cast my Lotus Petal, cast Show and Tell, hope it resolves. But another Meddling Mage made it so this is not going to work.
Nope. Yeah, now we need to get either the Meddling Mage or the Rest in Peace off the board.
Yep.
So normally the way you get permanents off the board post-board is with Ashen Rider. But these permanents are keeping you from getting Ashen Rider into play.
Correct.
So that won't work. He has 1 Echoing Truth in his board, which he may have boarded in.
Drawing to 1, I like it.
And in the main deck, nothing. Actual nothing. So, yeah, just doing a double check here. Yes, we are actually drawing to 1. We were drawing to 2, but we used 1.
Here's another copy of Rest in Peace. I guess Echoing Truth is good against 2 of those. Let's see if Sho can find one of those. That's a copy of Exhume. That's not going to do anything.
Nope.
Again, the power level of this Reanimator deck is through the roof, but it does not stand up very well to hate cards. That's the biggest issue with the deck.
Sure. And that we actually, I sat down with Dave Thomas earlier today, who's a very big proponent of Dredge. As I said, nearly all combo decks that use the graveyard have this problem in Legacy. The graveyard hate over the years has gotten way better and more prevalent. And which, to be fair, I'm glad that has happened.
Yeah, me too.
All of these graveyard decks are completely degenerate, and if there weren't like hyper efficient answers, that would be problematic.
I think the door may be locked now, however. Palmer drew his 5th land. His last card has Force of Will. Sho actually drew a card for the turn. The thought is that he can't afford to cast because he would die if it did resolve. So in for 1 we go. Palmer draws another land for the turn, Scalding Tarn, but it doesn't matter because he's got a Force of Will to make sure that nothing bad happens. He'll play the Tarn, kick it back. Sho would have to just even draw Echoing Truth this turn, but that would only buy him a moment because he would bounce the Meddling Mage, and then he wouldn't be able to go off.
Yeah, so I think you're right. Actual no way to win this game for Kishu.
I cast a Brainstorm here. Going to put some cards back, and I think come to the realization here that he is probably dead, and that is going to do it. So Austin Palmer is going to win this match over Keisha 2-0. Blue-White-Red Delver doing what Blue-White-Red Delver does, which is stopping a combo deck from doing what it wants to do. So Palmer moves on to 7-1, and with any luck, he'll be able to draw to the top 8 next round.
Yeah, this tournament is not right up against the cut, but it's not very far below it either. So I don't want to say with any confidence that he will or will not be able to draw in. There will be some tables at X and 1 that can safely draw. There will be some that cannot.
Yeah, the only person that we know is in the top 8 is Joe Lissette.
Joe Lissette, and his name is escaping me. We had him on camera right before Joe Lissette last round. He was playing Burn. Joey Lively.
We have a Burn deck in top 8?
Yes.
Ooh, baby.
Yes. Right. Yeah,
Nice.
Joey Lively and Joe Lissette, they took the intentional draw last round. They're sitting at 7-0-1 now.
That's awesome.
Yes. So we have those 2 locked, and then we will have I would guess 5 other tables, so 10 players total competing for 6 slots.
Joey Lively channeling his inner Patrick Sullivan, roasting people.
Yeah.
I like it. That is fun.